clean, keep them in tolerance. We have, if we hadn't, I think a lot of y'all probably recognize the tea kettle. We didn't do it. Okay, we'll do little hole for this is, we're blowing up this balloon with argon. And we'll blow up another balloon with helium. Now, as you can see, the difference in the two products, one of the helium balloon, when we drop it, it goes up. When we drop the argon balloon, it will go down. The helium has a lot of other practical applications other than lifting, and you will see it in blimps. That's basically how a balloon is done. But the other thing is helium is the second lightest element, hydrogen being the lightest, but hydrogen is very flammable, and helium sometimes is easier to deal with. So if we're wanting to test a product for like air conditioning coils, where you are going to be putting Freon or some other gas in the air conditioning coils, you can't stand to have any leakage. So we can manufacture them, but we want to test to make sure that we have a solid coil. We'll use something like helium to do leak test. Helium in its liquid form gets down to almost almost absolute zero. Absolute zero is minus 463. Helium gets down to minus 452, I believe. And any of y'all, well, I shouldn't ask for, I can talk to somebody that's like Scott Morris who's worked with an MRI machine, but won't ask how many have had MRIs. But when you have, one of the things about an MRI, it depends on a very strong magnet, and the way that a magnetic field can be much stronger is that when you get electricity to absolute zero, electricity will flow in great form. So by surrounding or submerging the magnet in liquid helium, we can get it much more strong. So that's some of the practical applications of helium. We're going to show you a little bit of liquid gas here. Hold on, if you're at home, you would put this on the stove, and you put water in it, and you turn the fire on. But just the heat in this room, we thought it was cold earlier this week. A lot of us were wearing overcoats and everything. I think it was around 32 or 29. This gas that we're using here today is minus 326. So when we put it into the tea kettle, and we put the lid on, it's already starting to boil. And the same thing that happens at home is that we have what's happening here is that we've got a liquid moving from the liquid state to the gaseous state. Same thing that you had when you had the water moving from water to steam. Now Patrick's going to pour a little bit more in there, and you can see this is all this is just condensation of air. This is actually a colorless, odorless substance. He's going to put should we be like a magician and go out and take it? Okay. That's a regulation banana, and here's a regulation racquetball. He's going to put it in there. Now, while those are settling out, we'll take a flour. That's a regulation flour. And when And when he takes the flour out, basically you can see that it's just completely ruined. Same thing happens with the racket ball. He's wanting to make sure, but I'll tell you, you can see the racquetball when you drop it on the floor. It's completely solid. All of it. And over time, this will regain its flexibility. Same thing with the banana. The banana is turned from a banana to a this balloon of argon. Argon is in there as a gas. Now, argon turns into a liquid at a higher temperature than the nitrogen. So you can see that the argon, the gas is just liquefied itself completely. And then as it warms up, it'll start warming back up again. Somebody, when we first came in, said I used to watch Mr. Wizard all the time. So anyway, Patrick, thank you for the help. And Patrick developed this program. This is called our LABS program, Living and Breathing Sciences. It's a nexAir's outreach into the community. He developed the program in an entrepreneurial way. We're using it in the school system. So far, 4,000. Last year, 4,000 students have seen this. So, and by the way, if you want it in your school for your children, we'll do it a little bit more extensive. But he'd be glad to come out. Now, the purpose of the demo is not really to wire you on our gases, but I thought it'd be a little fun to have some. First of all, you find out what business we're in, and some of the way businesses, the gases have been used over time. Gases have been around since the start of time. But some of the applications that we use for gases have just come up during my career, and I could kind of list out a whole bunch of other gases. But for a business to succeed, I think over time you have to do and have to be willing to make change. And part of the entrepreneurial spirit of gases, of a business, means that you have to be willing to change over time and adapt yourself to those changes. We sell other things in our business, and sometimes we've gone offline of what we really would be our core competency. I think that one of the things I've learned over time is that you really need to stay focused on what you do, and to do that best. We think the gases and the related products that use gases is basically what our core competency is. I'd like to talk a little bit about growth, and as Pearson said, I've watched our company grow over time. And we've had a willingness to expand, and also we've done some business by acquisition. One of the things that I think I've found during my career is that business won't always come to you. Sometimes you have to go to it. And the South, I think, really gained from a migration from the Rust Belt to the South. A lot of manufacturers came to the South, and fortunately over time we have benefited from that. We're actually seeing a rebirth of manufacturing right now in the South, and some of our we're trying to go to it. We're seeing Alabama and Georgia are just really doing a great job. But one of the things that we learned is that business may not necessarily come to Memphis, and so what we found ourselves doing is trying to go to where we thought the business was. Business manufacturers generally go to rural areas, and so we found ourselves going into more rural areas. The other thing that happened in our business when I came in to the business, there was people like us in every town, and they were all, about the same size. A lot of those businesses had started at the end of World War II, and there was just a natural generation of people that didn't plan for succession. Those businesses became available, and so we had an appetite for expansion, and actually we ended up going through and buying some of those companies. Today we have 34 locations, and we're located in 7 states. And to grow a business, you need good people. And one guy can't do it all. My dad was probably the closest thing I know to an entrepreneur, and he managed the business, he sold, he did the financing, in some cases even was involved in delivering. And when I came out of Vanderbilt in 1963, he had grown the business to where he really was needing some help, and he was looking at me as the guy that might give him some help. But I was looking back at him, and I said, boy, if anything ever happens to him, and I'm going to be in really deep trouble, because emulating what he was doing was just impossible, I think, in a growing company. So I wanted to start grooming and getting somebody that I could work with. Now, I think in every industry, the first reaction is to kind of go out and find somebody that's experienced in that business and bring them in, or it might be from your competitor or someone that you perceive to be successful in your industry. I took really a little bit of a different tact on that. I was young at the time, and I felt like I wanted somebody that was also young, that had the same values. Education was very important to me. Also, I believe that knowing specific knowledge in a business is not as important as having an educated person who can learn the business. And so I was looking for somebody with leadership skills. I know I read that book that I think Herb Callagher, I think that's his name, that did Southwest Airlines, and he said, you can train a man to be a pilot, but you can't train a pilot to be a man. And for you bankers in the room, he was on a bank board with a close friend of mine, and he said, you can teach a man to be a banker, but you can't necessarily teach a banker to be somebody who can associate with people. And so the idea, I think, basic, if you hire good, solid people and you train them in your business, you can grow from within. So our idea, when I first went out, I went to someone that was about my age and hired them in basically on their leadership skills. Now, over time, we became one of the youngest management teams in the industry. I'd like to say we still are. He's gone, and I'm still sticking around. But the other thing we try to do with our young people is empower them. We do a lot like what we've done with Patrick. He'll come in, and we like to start an educated person at an entry-level work. Just get them in there, and there's a couple of things that we gain. First of all, we're able to watch how they interact with less educated people. We also we operate teams within the company. Always, we'll have anywhere from 4 to 9 teams going on at one time on what we call continuous improvement. It may be trying to figure out why we make mistakes, or trying to log in how many steps we take in a day to do a particular action. But we involve the young people in these teams, trying to not only our trainees, but we involve everybody on these teams, and it's great. Well, by injecting the young people into these teams, first of all, we find out who's going to take responsibility. We find out who's really got a good work ethic. They start to interact with the people. They see other people the other youth being promoted, so there is a good flow through. That's what we're able to actually see. Now, from an employee standpoint, what they gain, first of all, is they get we think job satisfaction is more important than money. Money's important, and we pay our people well. At least I think we do. But the big thing that you want to do for an employee is that they have to feel a sense of accomplishment. If they're involved in trying to solve problems, I think they become part of the culture. They also have a chance to get camaraderie with their fellow employees. They're making a difference, and then they're fortified by seeing other people advancing. When we decide to expand geographically, what we've done, to use a sports metaphor, we've actually worked our bench. We've got a bench over here, and we've got people that can work. So we're constantly bringing in young people into our company to inject them along in business, so that we'll have a bench. When we moved into the Alabama and Birmingham area, I remember we had a guy came up to me and he said, where did you get this guy? I've been in this business forever and I've never heard of him. I said, well, that 32-year-old guy has been with us 10 years. And he's been learning our business at our location. We didn't hire him from anybody else. This is a homegrown guy. All of our 5 top officers, and I would not consider mine one of them, have gone through this program. All but one of them has over 20 years of experience in our company, and they're all between the ages of 40 and 50. So what we've done, I think, is developed young entrepreneurs and tried to move them along. Let me just conclude, and I'll give you some of the gray-haired things that I've learned. I think you have to decide what business that you're in, that you're really in, and focus on it. My feeling is that in order to have a successful company, you have to develop a culture. You have to hire great employees, and as I've said, I think you need to hire them young, and hire them that way. They're there for the long term. Train them, empower them, and empower them early. And if you empower them early, you find out what they're worth, and you also they find out what they're worth. You have to contain costs. You can't let customers. You can't make them pay for your inefficiency. I really believe in seeking help, and I know we've got an attorney here. We've got some bankers, and we've got some accountants. These people are invaluable in growing a business. One thing that they do that you do or they do would be to question whether or not what you're doing is logical. Those of us who are entrepreneurs have a tendency to sometimes go way out on a limb, and I truly believe that outside help is just invaluable in business. Now, we operate with a board. We're a private company, but we have a board, and our idea is to. I've had people question me as to what are you doing, and then we sit back and say, what are we doing? Because you in the heat of the moment, you can an aggressive person will have a tendency to move out into areas that they shouldn't. Look for places to grow, and then lastly, never sit on your laurels. That's pretty well my old man's advice, Pearson. I'll be glad to answer any questions if.
Anybody have any questions?
Yeah.
You talked about the wisdom of staying in the core of the strength business and not diversifying too much. How do you, what's the meter to know that balance of, well, we're diversifying too much or we're too narrow and we need to diversify? How do you measure that balance?
Well, your customers sometimes will be able to tell you, and how are they going to tell you? Well, it may be in what you're able to charge them for whatever it is that you're doing. I can give you some personal examples of what we've done. Gases and related products. If you take our oxygen business, we're in the medical. We're heavily into medical oxygen, but we've also gotten into a lot of the equipment that is used in hospitals. Early on, we sold a lot of disposable products used in hospitals and introduced them, and that was a really good business for us. But as it became commonplace for those products to be used, the distribution method to get them into a hospital, our method of distribution was basically through our own trucks and in what we would call smaller quantities. Smaller quantities compared to Kleenex sheets and that kind of stuff, and you see that those products, when they became commodities, are better dropped in. So sometimes you can get into a product almost too far, and you need to draw back to what your core competency. Our cost of handling these gases is we've got high cost equipment, trucks and all. They're not as good for distributing other some products. Now that's not saying people shouldn't buy from us on that, but I think you have to recognize where you can do that. I don't know if that answers your question, but I think product diversification is great. I mean, we on the welding side, we sell things all the way through robots, and one of the other people who's going to be here with me today is an engineer we hired out of CBU that's working in robotics. Robotics use a lot of gases. Robots do. So, but you can stream out too far into those directions, but I think your customers eventually tell you.
Thank you. Okay, Will?
You've grown organically, you've also grown by acquisition. I'm in a business that's consolidating and will probably for the foreseeable future. How do you balance all that? Do you have kind of a hurdle rate or whatever that you look for in an acquisition, or how do you make those evaluations?
We're basically, I've run him out of a lot of meetings. Yeah, he does. We try to judge it on cash flow, and basically trying to decide whether or not we can take it on and do everything as if we were going to have to, service the debt. And our business we look for business with high cash flow. There are, in our industry, to get back to your question, there's a lot of people that have drifted off into industrial supplies and other things that are associated with our business, but they might not